Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to this month's episode of WESaga Live, sponsored by WESaga. I am Nicole Colwell, Executive Vice President, Chief Alliance Officer at WESaga. I'm also the founder of WESaga. WESaga is about building a community of women and allies that are focused on women in Web3 and providing opportunities for women, providing connections, content, and sharing the stories of the women who are making things happen in Web3 today. This month is International Women's History Month, the month of March, and we thought that a really great way to round out to end this month was celebrate the women who are making history today, looking to the future of women in emerging technology. So I am super excited to introduce you to today's guest, Ysabel Chen, who is one of those women who is the future of Web3, the future of emerging technology, and she's making history today. So Ysabel's going to tell us a bit about what she's doing, how she got started in this, and let's go. Ysabel, welcome. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Oh, I'm so excited that you're here today and that we're talking. And Ysabel and I have known each other almost a year now. We met last year at Consensus in Austin, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But Ysabel, tell us about you. What are you up to? What are you doing these days?
Yeah, so my name is Ysabel Chen, as Nicole said. I am a freshman at UC Santa Barbara studying stats and data science. And then I'm also the founder and CEO of Furever Found, which is the entire reason I got into Web3 and how I pretty much got into Web3. And so I was part of the animal rescue adoption scene in the Bay here for like the last decade, which sounds crazy. But then through that, I kind of just experienced like the entire animal adoption process, animal rescue process, and that's kind of how I've discovered and uncovered all the issues surrounding it. And from that, I started looking for ways to help solve the issue, and Web3 was one of the solutions I stumbled across.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. So Ysabel, let's talk about how you got started, because I know you started developing an application, right? The precursor to Furever Found.
Yeah.
When you were in high school. Let's talk about that and kind of work our way up to where Furever Found is today.
Yeah, so I actually took an entrepreneurship class in high school, which was really small. It was only like, I think 4 or 6 people, which was insane. And that's where I started brainstorming solutions to the animal rescue process and animal adoption issues. And so in there, I built like a Web 2 application that was pretty much like a one-stop shop for pet adoption. It's actually might still be on the App Store today. I'm not too sure. I think it is still in the App Store today under a different name, Lucky Paw. And so now after, like, it eventually transitioned to Web3 because I found Web3 through like my dad, and we were all watching like blockchain videos together and we were like trying to figure out what this new thing was. And then I went to Consensus, and there was the hackathon there, Web3-a-thon. And I kind of didn't really know anything about developing on blockchain and in Web3, but either way, I was like, I can find a team that I can learn from. And so I kind of just impulsively signed up. And that's where the development of Furever Found actually began. But it initially started with Lucky Paw.
Oh, that's really cool. So I remember us meeting. WESaga, we were sponsoring a Women of Web3 event that you attended, and I was speaking at it and asked a question. Do you remember that?
I remember that. It was wild. Yeah, I think.
So what did you ask? Do you remember?
I remember the question. I remember asking like something along the lines of like, how can I get other high schoolers and other teenagers into Web3? Because it was a very obscure topic at the time, and most of the conversation was surrounding crypto and NFTs, which a lot of people thought like were a joke. But I was more interested in like the blockchain aspect of it. So I was wondering how can I get other teens into that? sphere. And then you answered. That was great. Rest
Well,
is
we
history.
had a great conversation afterwards.
Yeah.
You joined us at one of our events, and we talked about the Web3-a-thon. And
Yeah.
you had this great idea that we talked about, and it's like, yes, you're wanting to get a team together and putting it all into motion. And lo and behold, you won first place at the
Yeah.
Web3-a-thon.
It was great. I think um, I think a lot of that was kind of up to chance. I feel not in the sense that we won because of chance, but a lot of the things leading up to it happened um, because of like random decisions I decided to make, which is crazy thinking back on it now because like there's so many other ways this could have turned out, and it turned out like the best way it could have possibly turned out. Um, and so I think we were talking about it before as like this mindset of like, why not? And why not just chase these opportunities? If one walks in front of you, why not go after it? There's really nothing bad that can happen except maybe like a possible no. Other than that, there's like an infinite amount of possibilities of good things that can happen. So that was one thing that we were talking about, and that just kind of stuck in my mind. And that's been something I've been talking about ever since, was the question of why not? Like, why not go do something that you want to do? Yeah.
We all need to hear more of that. Why not? Right. And I think that's really what makes a difference. And Web3 has so many possibilities and opportunities for people. And yet I think a lot of people are a little reluctant to get into it. So first of all, saying why not is a great way to kind of help break that. If you have any concerns or any, I guess holding yourself back from doing it. Let's talk about those opportunities that you've found to learn and to grow in this space.
Yeah. So I think honestly, I feel like I'm learning at every single step. Like if we just start back from the Web3-thon, I had some team members on board that were very experienced software engineers. So I was kind of like watching them code. I was kind of talking to them, asking them questions, and that's how I was learning the more technical side of blockchain. But in terms of like the business side, that was all through experience. Like I was learning along the way, like when I was making the presentations, writing the script for our team, for the final video that we submitted. All of that was like learning through experimenting. So a lot, and yeah, I initially started by like watching YouTube videos, and that was how I got into the world of Web3 and like understood the basics of blockchain. But everything after that was just experimenting, and that was how I was learning. So a lot of the opportunities I think I got because I was willing to learn and excited to learn, not so much because I wanted those opportunities specifically just to add to like my resume or whatever, or just to add on to like, or just to experience. It was, I like chased after those opportunities because I also wanted to learn, if that makes sense. I think there's a difference between like going after opportunities to learn versus just to have that opportunity. I think the first one is much more in-depth.
Absolutely. And I mean, I know that you've gone after several certifications, and it's not just to rack them up, but progressively to learn more and more and to get more experience in this space, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And you won the Web3-a-thon, building on SagaChain, which is really exciting. And I have to say, looking at the work that you and your team submitted, very impressive. It really was well done, well thought out. But that's not the only thing that you've won. You've gone on to win additional competitions.
Yeah, there was the Austin ATX DAO, I think it stands for Austin, Texas DAO, is what I think it stands for. And so their entire goal is to bring Web3 to Austin, like make Austin Silicon Valley, but for Web3 essentially, is the way I thought about it. And they had a pitch competition earlier this year, I think in January maybe? Yeah, January. And so I ended up attending with the idea of Furever Found. I ended up pitching. We won like the finalist choice award. Audience Choice Award. And from that, I made it to finals. Didn't place, but the Audience Choice Award was really cool. I think that was way better.
I think that is way better. That's really exciting because you could tell, I attended and you could tell the people that were listening to your pitch, they really resonated with your story and with Furever Found, what you were trying to achieve with it. So let's talk a bit, you did mention it, but let's talk a little bit more about Furever Found and what you're doing and what the application is all about.
Yeah, so Furever Found is a great way, I think, of connecting the physical real world with the world of Web3 and blockchain. What I mean by that is we essentially take the animal microchip implants, which a lot of them already have in their necks for like just tracking reasons already. And so we're taking that existing infrastructure and we're gonna like link the RFID and the microchip to like the animal's NFT, and that'll be like their entire like passport almost. I know there are some countries doing that for people. We're going to do that for animals, but essentially their NFT is going to contain like medical history, location, owner information. In the future, it can contain like exercise and other health related data as well. So a lot of it is just to kind of condense everything we have nowadays into one platform and make it easier for pet owners, veterinarians, animal rescue organizations to communicate and discuss like, okay, hey, like this animal hasn't been adopted yet, and here's his health data. If we show like this dog's like profile to a potential adopter, they might be more willing to adopt this dog because they know like, okay, maybe we have to put in extra expenses just because this dog has like an issue with his leg or something like that. But a lot of it has to do with transparency. So we're trying to link the digital world to the physical world and kind of open everything up for all the pet owners, adopters, veterinarians to see.
Such an amazing, amazing solution. I mean, pet adoption is so important, near and dear to my heart for sure, and to so many people I know who absolutely love their pets. And you have a couple of pets yourself that kind of inspired all of this, right?
I do, yeah. I have, so at the time when I created Furever Found, I had 3 rescue animals, or 3 rescue dogs. Now I have 2. But the main one that kicked it off it was during the pandemic. I want to say like first 3 or 4 months of the pandemic. So maybe like June or something like that. I'm not really sure. But I was in the backyard with my parents. We were just kind of like enjoying the fresh air, getting out of the house. And all of a sudden we heard like these dogs like outside our backyard. And so we went to look and there were these 2 stray dogs there. And so I ended up running around grabbing a leash and like trying to like get them to follow me to the backyard and like out of the street. So they ended up just following me. I didn't even need the leash. But what happened was we ended up adopting one of those dogs because they didn't have chips or anything. Like they didn't have the microchip. So that was another reason why Furever Found. But they didn't have the microchip. No, we couldn't find their owner because we posted online. So we ended up adopting one of the dogs, and the other one we found a family for. So that's kind of what kickstarted Furever Found.
Oh, that's so exciting. So exciting. So right now you're in school. Let's talk about what you're studying and talk a little bit more about how that, is helping you as you're building this out, Furever Found.
Yeah, so as I said before, I am a freshman at the University of California, Santa Barbara, studying statistics and data science. So it's all about data, really. I'd say like the major itself doesn't too much help, or isn't specifically helping me with Web3, but it does introduce me to like the more technical aspects of how I can learn and like work my way into Web3 and learn all like the technical aspects of Web3. But I guess like the most interesting thing I do at school is I had like the blockchain club there, blockchain at UCSB, very creative name, I know, but I'm spearheading like an education series there, and we're gonna start it in spring. So really next week, we're gonna start it next quarter. And so I've been kickstarting that. I've been working on that education series, and it's just blockchain fundamentals. Like virtually like everything I learned myself off of YouTube, I'm working with a team to kind of change that and into like an in-person format and make it more interactive, so we can educate people at Santa Barbara too, and hopefully in the future keep them interested so we can develop like club projects as well, which is great. It's very exciting.
Oh, that's so exciting. How are you finding it as far as people's interest at the university into this new area of technology, this new iteration of the internet?
Yeah, so so far it seems like most people are more interested in the economic side, but there is a lot of interest in the technical development side. But a lot of the questions that they bring up is that they don't really know where to start in terms of learning how to develop on the blockchain. And so that's where our course is kind of coming in, is we're going to set the foundations first. And from that, we can branch off into like a more technical series or more like economic focused series, or like, even legislation on blockchain, like those sorts of series. So there is a lot of interest, I'd say, but a lot of them don't know where to start, and that's where we're hoping to help. And I think we can do that. We'll see next quarter.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to see how that goes. And one of the things that I love is that it's not just, for the techies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Web3 has so many different opportunities to get involved, like you just mentioned. I'm sure that there are students in particular who are like in political science, when you were talking about the legislation, or in different aspects of business that could find a place in Web3.
Exactly. Yeah. So we actually even had like an environmental studies major join the club at a certain point. And I think there's just like an endless amount of possibilities of what you can do with Web3. It's kind of like that for every single technology, but in my opinion, especially for Web3, like anyone can take a part and build something, just because, again, it's like so open and so new that if you jump in now, I think you can take it very, very far. You can take your idea very far. And I don't think there's anything stopping like a political science major from creating like a platform like a Reddit, but like decentralized and specifically for, I don't know, like poli-sci majors on like the blockchain or something like that. But I think there's endless possibilities of what you can do with it, and it's not limited to a certain major.
No, definitely not. And I think even for those of us who have been out of university for quite a while, a little more advanced in our careers, it's a great lesson for us as well that you don't have to have a technical background, in the sense of you don't have to be a coder or a software engineer to be able to be part of Web3 and to learn and to create something in this space or build in this space, right?
Exactly. Like, I think if you have an idea, you can find, and if it's a good idea, you can always find people who also think it's a good idea and are like very technical and willing to help you build that product out. It all depends on connections, I think. And that's what happened to me too, because I wasn't expecting, like I probably wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for me asking that question, like we were talking about earlier, if I didn't ask that question in the event you sponsored. So I think a lot of it has to do with just reaching out to people, making connections, talking, getting to know other people's ideas and other people. And just, even if you don't have an idea, I think it's great to do that, just because then you start hearing about all these other ideas people have and you're like, okay, that's great. Like there's really no bounds as to what I can create and what idea I can have.
Oh, I love that. We all need to hear that. We all need to think about that, to ask the questions, to speak up, and that was one of the things I loved whenever you stood up and asked this question. I know there were a ton of people in that audience who wanted to ask questions, right? But they didn't.
Yeah.
And you did. And look where it's gotten you. I mean, multiple wins on your application. You've built an international team, right?
I have, yeah.
Create this. You are studying technology and data analytics. You're an entrepreneur. You are a founder and CEO. I mean, look at you. This is amazing. And if you hadn't you would have done it anyway. I know that. But by taking that step forward, asking that question, getting curious, it opened up a whole new world to you.
I know, and it's crazy because I'm not one to just like raise my hand and speak up, especially if it's in like a room of strangers. And in a room of like 200 strangers, I'm not really sure how many people are there, but it seemed like a lot. And so it was crazy. I don't know what was going through my mind at that moment. I think it was literally just why not? Like, what's holding me back? Like, I don't know any of these people. If I embarrass myself, like, who cares? Only I'll know it. But I ended up just doing it and just standing up and raising my hand. And so that was crazy because I'm not usually one to do that. And I did it just once. And then all you need is one time for it to pay off. And it was insane because like there's no thing holding you back from just asking a question. And who would have thought a question would have led to all of this? Like I definitely still cannot believe it.
I can, because you're amazing and you did that. And I think it was right timing, right place, and you're the right person for doing this. I am so inspired by you and what you're doing. And I know that people out there who are listening are as well, whether you're live here or on the replay. In fact, we're getting comments from the group. Thank you so much. I'm hearing this. Love it. This is inspiring. We have people from around the world who are joining us here today. So that's really exciting.
That's awesome.
Isn't it though? I mean, it's so much fun. And so Ysabel, what is like your favorite thing about this journey that you're on with Web3?
Ooh, I want to say, I think it's pretty much just what I've been saying all along is that like if you do one thing, it's like a chain effect. Like so many other things can happen, especially if you go out and like take initiative. So I don't know if spontaneity is the right word, but like if you are like if you just go out and do something and you don't think too much about like, hey, you know what? Like if I embarrass myself, like if you embarrass yourself, that's not the end of the world. And the worst case the worst case that can happen if like you pitch an idea is someone says no. And so there's like really nothing holding you back in this place. The Web3 in general is just so new. Like so many people still don't know about it. It's very obscure. So if you jump in now, like you can go very, very far. So I think that's the thing I like about Web3 the most is that it's so new and there's just endless possibilities, like I've been saying all along.
You are definitely at the forefront of this. You are the future of not just Web3, but of emerging technology and making a huge impact in the world. And I know that for others to see you and to see what you're doing, it's inspiring them. You're triggering something in them to say, wait a minute, why not me? Why not? I can go out there and do something too. So thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, though.
We appreciate you. We love working with you. Can't wait to see your success in everything that you do, and looking forward to seeing more from Furever Found too.
Thank you. I'm very excited for the future. A lot's to come.
Lots to come, indeed. Well, Ysabel, thank you so much, and thank you all for who joined us here today. If you want to learn more about WESaga, we'll be posting more out there. And if you want to learn more about Furever Found, Ysabel, where can they find you?
So we have a LinkedIn page so far. That's pretty much it, but we're building out.
Absolutely. I love that you're building out. Well, Ysabel, thank you. It's a pleasure. And everyone, thank you again for joining us for WESaga Live. And I love that we're celebrating here the future, the women who are making history today in Web3. Join us next month and stay tuned for more from WESaga. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.